Found a stray in your neighborhood? Wait a moment before you call animal control or take the pet to the animal shelter. The animal has a much better chance of being reunited with its owner if it remains in its neighborhood. In fact, the typical reclaim rate for lost pets is only 17% when a pet comes into the shelter. But when an animal is kept in a safe place in the neighborhood where it was found, that rate jumps to 70%. Always approach stray animals with caution, speaking in a calm, gentle voice. Never attempt to capture an animal that is behaving aggressively. If you are able to secure the animal, first check it for injuries. Call animal control if the pet is injured. If the pet is wearing ID, contact the owner directly. If you are unable to reach the owner immediately, consider holding the animal for a few hours to allow the owner time to return your call. If you've held the animal for a few hours but have not received a return call, please report the information through Paw Boost as well as lost.petcolove.org. You may also complete a report of found animal form on our website. If needed and you are willing to keep the animal for 72 hours, we can provide you with supplies to care for the animal, including food, bedding, collar, and leash. It's recommended to walk dogs around the neighborhood to see if anyone recognizes them. Most dogs travel a mile or less from their home when loose. For more tips on helping reunite pets with their owners, visit louisacounty.gov/animal shelter. Found a stray in your neighborhood? Wait a moment before you call animal control or take the pet to the animal shelter. The animal has a much better chance of being reunited with its owner if it remains in its neighborhood. In fact, the typical reclaim rate for lost pets is only 17% when a pet comes into the shelter. But when an animal is kept in a safe place in the neighborhood where it was found, that rate jumps to 70%. Always approach stray animals with caution, speaking in a calm, gentle voice. Never attempt to capture an animal that is behaving aggressively. If you are able to secure the animal, first check it for injuries. Call animal control if the pet is injured. If the pet is wearing ID, contact the owner directly. If you are unable to reach the owner immediately, consider holding the animal for a few hours to allow the owner time to return your call. If you've held the animal for a few hours but have not received a return call, please report the information through Paw Boost as well as lost.petcolove.org. You may also complete a report of found animal form on our website. If needed and you are willing to keep the animal for 72 hours, we can provide you with supplies to care for the animal, including food, bedding, collar, and leash. It's recommended to walk dogs around the neighborhood to see if anyone recognizes them. Most dogs travel a mile or less from their home when loose. For more tips on helping reunite pets with their owners, visit louisacounty.gov/animal shelter.
Go back into open session.
We'll get tired of hearing about hearing.
Properly moved and seconded, we go back into open session. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're back into open session. I will now poll members to certify that to the best of your knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and as identified in the motion for which the closed meeting was convened were discussed and considered by the board. If any member believes that the board varied from the purposes stated for the closed meeting, please state so and the reason prior to casting a vote. Mr. McCotter.
So certified?
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Barlow.
Yes.
Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes.
All right, we're back into open session. This is the Monday, April the 8th, 2024 meeting of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors. I would welcome those of you who are here in the public meeting room, those who are joining us online. We've all survived the eclipse today. We're good now till 2044. I won't be here in 2044, but
Might be.
I might be. I doubt it. So we're going to start the meeting as we always do today with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. McCotter will lead us in the invocation. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I ask for your guidance and strength tonight. Show us your way. Fill us with courage and wisdom to serve the citizens of Louisa County. Give us the patience and understanding to face challenges with grace. We ask these things in your name.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move into our normal order of business, as you can see, we have quite a number of folks here from our fire and EMS department. And as so many of you know, and so many of our citizens were impacted on March the 20th, Louisa County had a series of wildfires which did some damage to some property, burnt quite a bit of acreage in the county. But fortunately, and it's due in not large part, it is due absolutely to the folks that are in this room and their counterparts who couldn't be here today. We had no loss of life, and we had no loss of homes. We did have Twin Oaks experience some loss of a warehouse, but they did not lose their living quarters. And, you know, every day, these men and women in our fire and EMS department and our sheriff's department go to work not knowing what the day will hold. They willingly put their life on the line for us every day, and we don't realize it. We don't think about it. We don't recognize that fact. We just expect when we call 911 that somebody will answer the phone and somebody's going to show up at our house. But they don't show up at our house without endless hours of training and dedication and commitment and service to our county. They leave their families every day. They put their lives on the line every day. And we don't remember them until we have a tragedy, which is what we had on March the 20th. But because of that, their bravery, their dedication to the county, and their sacrifice and service, we all saw it. And with the board, on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, the board asked them to come here tonight so that we can publicly say, thank you not just for what you did on March the 20th, but thank you for what you do to the citizens and for the citizens of Louisa County every single day. We are eternally grateful. Now, what I'd like to ask you to do, we're not going to make you got two options. You can all come down here. We want to get a group picture, or you have to stay for the whole meeting. So you decide which one you want to do. So you'll line up right down here.
Wait.
Where would you like it?
Yeah, call me.
Up here.
Okay, right up here.
Right up in the front. Right front row. Yep.
All up in here, guys.
Maybe the board can stand up in the background. And
It won't matter. They won't see me.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yes, sir. Somebody help.
I'm so sorry. The two of you, maybe if I can get you to crouch down in your line. Thank you.
Just need this part.
Okay. All right. Everybody say cheese. Thank you.
No more devil wins.
Thank you all very much. And before you leave,
How are you? Thank you very much.
hold on, guys. Before you leave,
Thank you. I appreciate
Mrs. Jones, and I think maybe some other people, but Mrs. Jones has something she'd like to say.
First off, some of you know and some of you don't know that I come from a law enforcement and volunteer fire rescue background many, many moons ago, and spent many years in your shoes. Loved it. My husband is still state police. This past weekend, we went to the Gordonsville Fire Department for their, every year we're invited, and we went for their annual banquet. On the table were thank you cards. And it's not just us who appreciate what you all have done, but there were thank you cards, and much to my delight, they said, oh, these thank you cards came from Louisa County. They were from 5th graders at Thomas Jefferson Elementary School. Cool. And they were the most touching, beautiful remarks, thanking Gordonsville Fire Department for coming across and offering mutual aid to us, but not only thanking you all, they were just thanking the firefighters for saving their homes. I was in their school. I work for the schools, but I was in their school the day after, and it was their career day. I was presenting on county government, and the fires came up, and many of those children had sleepless nights. And I'll cry, because I'm a crier. But they were all just so excited to tell me their story, or to say what fire truck they saw or who they saw out there, and that you saved their homes, and so appreciative. So it goes so far beyond just us on the board, but it goes to every citizen, even our smallest ones, who just appreciate and are so grateful for you all having their backs at night and saving their homes and their family. And some of them told me how close the fire was to them and into their backyards. So thank you all.
Anybody else? Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Stay safe.
Thanks.
Stay safe. I'm eternally grateful, but I'm a little insulted they didn't want to stay for the meeting. All right, next is the adoption of the agenda. Mr. Williams?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to strike item number 2 under information discussion items, discussion of the transportation projects applications for smart scale funding.
All right, is that a motion?
It is.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next is the approval of the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the approval of the bills.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded we approve the bills. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next up is the approval of the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded we approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is recognitions. We do have a recognition tonight, a proclamation proclaiming April 13th to 20th, 2024 is Clean Louisa Week. Mr. Goodwin, and I know we have some folks here from Louisa Clean, if you'd like to come up front for this, Jody and the rest of you.
Dave, we'll have you stand right up front here, and you can face the audience if you'd be so kind. Oh, sure. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, members of the public, this is a resolution proclaiming April 13th through the 20th of 2024 as Clean Louisa Week. Whereas the residents of Louisa County are concerned about the amount of trash and litter along roadsides, in streams and parks, and in commercial and residential areas of the county. And whereas litter is the result of improper disposal of trash and it negatively impacts the environment and the health and well-being of those around it. And whereas members of the community have established a group called Louisa Clean to address the challenges of ending litter and littering behavior. And whereas whereas the volunteer-run organization has been performing routine trash pickups along major byways in the county, collecting over 1,000 bags of trash since 2022. And whereas Louisa Clean plans to host a county-wide litter pickup event aimed at reducing litter and cleaning up the community, parks, and roadways in the county. And whereas the Big Clean will be Saturday, April the 13th and Sunday, April the 14th, 2024, a kickoff event for a week-long promotion to help keep Louisa clean. And whereas Louisa Clean has called upon its local elected officials to make litter prevention a priority in their districts and to take part in this big event. Now therefore be it resolved that the Louisa County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim April 13th through 20th, 2024 as Clean Louisa Week and encourages all citizens to work together, stand firm against the act of littering, and to take part in the Big Clean on Saturday, April 13th and Sunday, April the 14th, 2024. Thank you all so much. Supervisor McCotter, I will ask you to present this.
Thank you, Administrator Goodman. As J.R.R. Tolkien once said, even the smallest person can make a major difference in this world. So I would like to, on behalf of the Board of Supervisors and your fellow citizens, congratulate Jody, Mr. Zorzi, everyone else here. Who's out here.
Dan and Bobby.
Exactly, everyone who's involved here. You are not only making a literal difference, 1,000 bags of trash, you are inspiring others, which is the lasting effect. That when you tire out of picking up other people's trash, you'll have others that have followed your lead and were inspired by you. I see you when I drive in my busy day, and I try and pick up trash along my roads. Thank you for inspiring myself and my wife and the entire county. And you started a movement. You got a litter week and a big clean, so you are making a massive difference here in the county, and that's all we can hope for from any of our citizens. Thank you very much.
We really appreciate Louisa County. We just, thank you.
We're trying to keep up with you.
Good luck.
Take a quick photo over here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jody, I don't know if you're the official spokesman or not, but if you want to take about a minute, if you want to address the board, feel free to.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we are really working on solutions to the problem, and I think that's the biggest thing that we've got to do. I will tell you this, we're taking pictures of trucks that the trash is blowing out of the trucks. I'm taking the license plate and whiting out the license plate because safety reasons, okay? But the issue is they're not containing their trash. And so I think that's a huge problem that we're having. We've got to address it. But what I'm most excited about is in 2024, we've already done over almost 250 bags of trash. I'm not bragging about this. This is not what it's about. It's about we want that number to be lower. Okay, so that's kind of what we're trying to do, is we need help with solutions.
Well, thank you for what you do, and
Thank you.
you may want to stay around for our discussion on litter prevention here in just a minute.
Yeah,
so
we plan to.
Thank you all very much. All right, next is our public comment period. I do have 2 cards where people have registered for public comment. When I call your name, come to the microphone, state your name and your voting district. You can talk about anything that you want that's not a public hearing. We do have 2 public hearings tonight, one on the budget and one on Trevilian Station Battlefield Foundation. So if you're here to talk about that, wait till the public hearing. But when I call your name, come to the podium. I'll give you 15-second warning when you have 15 seconds. The first card is, I hope I get this right, Jack Cantu? Was I close?
Yes, sir.
Good. Raise the mic up to you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am Jakar Cantu. I go by Jack. I reside on Mountain Road District. I am here today to request an emergency livestock at large ordinance to be added to the county code for A2 zoned communities, like what was temporarily enforced September of 2023 due to the goat being struck and killed on 64, until a permanent ordinance can be amended. I moved to this community due to the rural nature and wanting to farm my own land in the near future and understand the conflict of adding such restrictions, but not at the cost of my children, family, friends, and animals, as well as commuters driving through. Many owners have sustained damage from the cattle, such as the start of our pasture, which is currently only seed, being damaged, as well as our septic systems, which will be up to us to cover the costs, since no ordinance is there to assist the affected families. I appreciate your time and hope for understanding and action. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I missed it myself. Could he repeat what he asked for?
He's in your district.
Yeah, but what did he ask for?
So you were, where'd you go? To make sure that we got, what I understood, you were asking for the reenactment of the emergency livestock roaming at large ordinance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard what he said. Where's Mr. Kuhn? Can you get his contact information, and we'll follow up with you, because the board has taken action that will address that. And so we'll have the Deputy County Administrator follow up with you tomorrow, if that's fine.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, next is Brian Hennett.
I don't think Brian's here.
Is he here?
He's trying to car, but I don't see him.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't fill out a card.
Hold on just a minute. Yeah, hold on just a minute. All right, so Brian's not here. This is the part I'll get to you.
Okay.
If there's anyone else that wishes to address the board during public comment period, now would be your opportunity. I would assume that's you, sir.
Yes. My name's Brad Altman. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association Equestrian Shores. It's in the Jackson district. It's within a half a mile of the pellet plant that I guess you guys had voted on. We were not aware.
We don't normally answer, but no, the board did not vote on that. That's a by right use.
Okay.
Way predates
Okay.
years from being on the board.
So I'm assuming that's still open for discussion at some point, or some ability for us to be able to address that issue.
All right, again, we don't normally, but we will since you have the question. So I'll let
Tony, I can do it.
Mr. Goodwin? Yeah, Mr. Goodwin?
I'll take care of it. I'll meet you out.
He'll meet you out
Okay,
there.
thank you.
See all these private meetings everybody's getting with county staff today. It's service, man, service. Yes, sir, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address? Yes, ma'am.
I wasn't sure what to do with this.
You can hand it to Mr. Woodward.
Thank you. Bonnie Shiflett. I'm in the Green Springs district. I just retired a few months ago, so I have more time but less money. What drew me to Louisa County 25 years ago was my family, my job, which I commuted to Charlottesville for, the rural character, and, yes, the lower tax rate. I wondered how many of you moved here for the same reasons, or if you were born and raised here. And if so, what kept you here? Was it the same reasons or dollar signs? The people I talk to, and from what I see on social media, people seem to feel the same as me. In the time I've lived here, I've seen the county chipped away with big business and solar farms. I wonder if that land was given up because the people could no longer afford the taxes. These million-dollar businesses are given tax breaks while us little guys have to take it on the chin. I understand things cost more. I don't mind seeing a little increase in my taxes to pay for our police, fire, and EMTs, but the big costly projects that we have to pay for to support the growth seems to be going out of hand. Do you have children, grandchildren? What legacy do you want to leave behind for them? I like to teach my children and grandchildren the beauty of nature and its wildlife, the wonder and joy to see deer, rabbits, fox, even an occasional bear go through my yard. I fear in time the likelihood of that will lessen. Would you rather your children and grandchildren have to go to a zoo to see them? And I wonder if you're listening to the people and giving them what they want. I've seen those signs, farmland lost is farmland lost forever. And it's true. It saddens me to think that. I know this will probably fall on deaf ears, but I can tell my grandchildren I tried. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Yes, sir.
I'm sorry I was late.
Looked to me like you had perfect timing. Now, you're not here to address public hearing that we have tonight, are you?
Public hearing you're having?
Yeah, we have two
No.
public, okay, that's fine.
No.
Name and voting district.
Okay. My name is Fred Vanderberg. I live at 2326 Holland Creek Road. News resident in the area. I was here to see you the last time, but, talking about litter. After I left the meeting, I met with a gentleman that steered me into a committee that is taking their time, weekends, and different days of the week, I guess, if they have time to do it, to pick up the litter along the roads. And when I talked to Jody about that, I told her, if you research the code of ordinances, which are laws that you people have to abide by, it's hard for me to swallow that these people or myself should be taking our own personal time on weekends and different things to do what other people are actually getting paid for to do as part of their job. So I guess I'm perplexed in the fact that, and I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any of this stuff or not, but I tried to figure out who exactly is in charge of it. And the only thing I can see in the law is that the county is. So I guess that kind of drops in your laps. Jody, and I've never met the lady. I've talked to her on the phone.
She's right behind you.
Oh, hi, Jody. I talked with Jody about it, and she said, well, she went to the Department of Transportation, Virginia DOT, and wanted to get some more signs put up with the no littering, the fine that the littering can cost you if you get caught doing it. And she said that they told her that they couldn't put any more signs up because it was sight pollution. Well, if the garbage along the road isn't sight pollution, I don't know what is. I mean, that is pretty weak. They would think, as you come in on 33 into Louisa, there's a sign there. It says littering that, is violation, $2,500 fine. If you look at from that sign forward into Louisa, there's not a drop of trash. Now, I don't know if that's because Jody's out there picking that up or whether, somebody's actually doing their job.
15 seconds.
But this law says that you can send letters to everybody. It's their responsibility to pick any trash up that's in there in front of their place. It's in the law. Do you want me to read that part to you?
No?
Okay.
No.
It's
All
in
right.
the law.
Thank you. Your time's up. Thank you.
That's it? I didn't figure you'd want to hear any more of it. Okay,
You stick around. We have a litter discussion coming up in the agenda here in a minute, so
okay.
thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comment and come back to the board. Under information and discussion, our first presentation is by Mrs. Karen Welch, who's the Executive Director of the Louisa Arts Center. Karen?
Thank you, and good evening, supervisors, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me some time to speak to you this evening. I have a lot of my board members here this evening as well, so I also want to just thank my board members that are here to support. And our Treasurer, Billy Guilford, would like to say a few words after I've spoken. So hopefully in front of you, hot off the press, is our summer playbill. That's it. We have literally worked on that, and it's actually going to go to print today. So you actually are the first people to see our summer playbill. And it not only includes our summer lineup, but also a sneak preview of the rest of the year. Last week, I actually celebrated my 5-year anniversary working at the Louisa Arts Centre. Doesn't time fly very quickly? And I'm sure you'll agree there's been a lot of changes during that time. It's not all been plain sailing, and that's just not just for myself. We've had our ups and downs, COVID being a very significant one. But the Louisa Arts Centre has pivoted when needed to ensure we continue to thrive and provide the best quality arts and entertainment for our community. Last financial year, we actually ended with a deficit against our budget due to lower than normal ticket sales for our main shows. So we talked to our patrons and changed the focus of our programming, which has resulted in 8 sellout shows out of 10 so far this year, the best ever year the Louisa Arts Centre's had. So we listened to our patrons and we've brought a great lineup, and I'm hoping to continue that into the following year. This has enabled us to keep our ticket prices low and to invest more into free events and community collaborations, some of which are providing sensory movies for our special needs school children, opening our art classroom to the Arc of the Piedmont to hold regular art classes, taking our arts bus out to the community closet and other groups around the county, supporting the school nutrition service for the 7th year running with their free summer meals programme in our underserved areas, and holding our classic Christmas event for families in our community, with this third year being sponsored by Blue Ridge Bank. So we are truly collaborating with some fabulous organisations around our town and our county. Over the last 5 years, we have also increased the number of summer camps for our children from 4 to 9 this year, including new ones such as cinematography, dance and robotics. We've also focused on rejuvenating our theatre this year. With the creation of our new theatre manager post, we brought the first ever Louisa's Got Talent show to our stage. This was a huge success with a diverse age group of 11 to 80, showcasing the local talent within our community, and it was a really fabulous fun night. The increase in our events and the diversity of our offering has had a positive impact on local businesses, bringing more people into Louisa from surrounding counties and at times from out of state. We therefore see ourselves as an ally to the county and the county as an ally to us, supporting us not only financially but also promoting us as part of all the fabulous organisations that Louisa has to offer. Just last month, I was invited to appear on Richmond's NBC 12 About Town, and I'd like to thank Cindy King for arranging this. The expansion of our activities has only been possible due to the backing of the county funds, which is our largest single grant and therefore integral to our day-to-day operations. We understand there are so many asks for the county for funds, and it must be a difficult job to allocate and support everyone. So we appreciate the financial support we are given. One of the reasons for our request for an increase in funding from the county this year was to support the needs for repair and refurbishment of the Louisa Arts Centre due to the age of the building through wear and tear, and to help provide the capital improvement we require to maintain this beautiful facility for years to come. The total cost to repaint the theatre and the gallery, to renovate the art classroom and replace the theatre lights is approximately $90,000. We're working hard to raise these funds and are grateful to supporters such as the town for their contribution to the painting of the building. This cost is over and above the $407,000 we need to raise this financial year to cover expenditure to maintain the high level of entertainment and activities we now provide for our citizens. And if possible, we don't want to reduce that number. So to date, we have succeeded in raising $53,300, of which $30,000 is a matching grant. So we are currently appealing to our patrons to raise another $6,700 to secure this matching grant and achieve $60,000 of our $90,000 goal. So we do work hard. We're not expecting everyone to give, but we are working hard to try to secure the money ourselves as well. There is still so much more that the LAC can do to brighten the lives of our citizens. Some new initiatives I'm currently working on are just setting up a youth advisory committee with a group of high school students who are helping to inform us with ideas for the inclusion of youth in our offering, and in return gaining experience working with a non-profit team and board of directors. I'm also in discussion with the Career and Technical Education Department to explore ways in which the Arts Centre can support their STEAM programme, helping to complement and enhance the arts part of STEAM. And I'm also looking forward to providing opportunities for the National Art Honour Society based in the Louisa County schools to gain experience with our art gallery by involving them in the planning of the art exhibitions. We have also recruited 4 new directors for our board and are currently working on an updated strategic plan to ensure we meet the needs of our citizens going forward. As always, we take our fiscal responsibility very seriously, as it is fundamental in ensuring our art centre continues to be sustainable so that we can give back to the community for years to come. And now I'd like to hand over to Billy Guilford.
Certainly.
Thank
you. Good evening, everybody. I'm here for several reasons. One of the main reasons is to thank Karen Welsh for the work she does. I've been on the board for some time. But I was also involved in the beginning of the Arts Center and a supporter for quite a few years, about 20 years now. But Karen will not give herself credit, but she's done an amazing job. She took us through COVID, kept the Arts Center open, and we're here today, and much better than we were before she got here. So I want to also thank the Board of Supervisors. We have a great partnership with the Board of Supervisors. You have been extremely supportive. We wouldn't be where we are without the work and support that you do for us. I also will remind you, we're doing a lot of work for the county. There are some amazing things that Karen has put in place. When I see what is happening with the kids of this community, with our art mobile, with the classes that we bring to them, with the programs that she's brought into the county that none of us thought would work, but they really have. She brought in Shakespeare, she brought in ballet. Our ballet show this next weekend is sold out, which surprises me, but that's a good thing. So again, thanks to the Board of Supervisors, thanks to Karen. And the last I just want to mention, because I've become the old historian here in Louisa, to remind you where the Arts Center came from. The Arts Center, the whole thing started about 20 years ago. The town bought the old school. The Louisa Downtown Development Corporation was started. The Arts Center began. But I bring this up because there were the founders, the people who started that, who we stand on the shoulders of to continue what their vision was. And they put the hard work in to get that thing started. We continue that. Some of the names, I won't mention them all, but Pam Stone, Hal Purcell, Jane Wooten, Pat Purcell, Charles Rawson, John Whitlock, Bud Delaney, Jenna Cullen, Peggy Sadler, and Shelby Milhellen, who recently passed away. And there were so many others who helped us at the beginning. But I mention that because we're doing the same thing now. We're standing on their shoulders and we're continuing this great thing at the Arts Center. So that's why I'm here, just to thank you, thank Karen, and look forward to the next 20 years. So thank you.
Thank you all very much. Does anybody on the board have any comments? Thank you all very much. We appreciate the update. We appreciate what you do for the county. Thank you very much. Next is a discussion, a triathlon update, and I believe that's Mr. Gillespie.
There he is.
Phone call.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, before you this evening is an update related to the triathlon run by Kinetic Multisports. Just to let you know, the applicant is here in attendance this evening. That's Greg Hawkins. He's been before you before. The triathlon was first approved as under a conditional use permit in 2016, which was amended in 2019 with some additional conditions to increase the number of participants and to standardize some of the operating protocols. Mr. Hawkins would like to talk about the efforts he's undertaken for community engagement and information in the last several years, and what this would do would allow the CUP for this coming year. And Mr. Hawkins would like to also engage in dialogue with the board member for Cuckoo, but also with all the board members about changing the cycle to continue to be here each year, but instead of being here at the beginning of the year for the 2 events throughout the year, to come in at the end of the year and get us several months ahead instead of kind of right at the moment. Just to remind everybody, this is a major event in Louisa County. I'll let Mr. Hawkins talk about how it has grown, but it certainly has some effects. I'm sorry, and your information is in your packet, pages 39 through 42. So this is the language as restated from the original CUP adopted in 2019 as amended in 2016 as amended in 2019.
So what are we doing here tonight?
So this is a discussion item, essentially by listening to Mr. Hawkins and having no dispute, it allows the event to continue for 1 more year.
Because that's a condition.
Correct, for
It's
each
like a
year.
report and update. Correct. So it's not, no action is, we're happy, it keeps moving.
Exactly right.
Okay.
That's right.
That's why, very good, okay.
That's right. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The last meeting where I presented this, I did give more of the background.
I wasn't here last meeting,
Okay,
so.
exactly.
That's
Very-
fair, no
very good.
problem.
So there was a little more detailed.
So,
Yes, sir.
no, I have a question. So in our packet, there's a resolution
Yes.
to approve modifications to CUP.
That's my question.
So this is more than just a discussion item. This is a vote?
This was presented, basically, sorry, Mr.
No, you go ahead.
County Administrator. This was presented in its previous form, the 2019 form. Essentially, by not disputing this, you are resolving to continue the approval.
That's
So-
'cause it's copied
Ju-
from the-
That is an attachment to the discussion item, is the consideration of the 2019 CUP.
Correct.
So that's
So-
just informational only.
We are not asking for action tonight.
No, sir.
This
Okay,
is-
it's an addenda, it's, okay. It was
I don't mean to
confusing.
speak for you.
Okay,
Is that
Yep.
cor-
Yeah,
that is correct, yes?
Thank
Okay.
you. Yep.
okay.
And we do have to make note that in our packet, it is
Yeah,
in the
this-
wrong district.
Well, that's because, no, this
copied.
resolution is dated April 18th, 2016.
Okay,
At that time, it was in that district.
so it would have to be updated.
No.
But you don't have, that's
You have
right.
to update that. You can just leave it alone and it still happens.
Right.
That's what he's saying. If you take a concern to something, you want to change it, then you need to start the process again. Did I get that right?
That is exactly correct.
Okay, so by leaving this alone tonight and he's bringing an update, saying this is what I was resolved to agree to do, make sure I'm getting this right.
That's correct. It is self-perpetuating unless the board takes issue with or wants to modify a condition.
got it.
So in that case, as.
And it is correct because in 2016, it was in the Jackson district.
Absolutely correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
It's not a
maybe,
typo,
maybe I'm
because
looking at something different, but my packet says,
April date. The resolutions from here
well, at
down.
the top it says, "A regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Louisa County held at 5 PM,
24th.
April the 8th, 2024, at which the following members were present. The following ordinance was adopted by a majority of all members of the Board of Supervisors. A vote being recorded in the minutes of the meeting is shown below." Does that not imply that we take a vote?
The way this is worded, it does. It should have just said.
But it's
the-
not necessary.
Correct. It should have said the members accept the
The
previous
top part
conditions.
here is not necessary,
Right.
and that is the CUP from 2016.
Okay.
Everything below that, that's
So
correct.
this is the same procedure we've used in the past. It just, we don't, the top's what threw me off.
That, yes, I apologize for
You're
the
right.
top.
That is confusing.
Yeah.
I apologize
Okay.
for that. I should have
Okay.
caught it on
No
already.
problem.
It is.
My fault.
No issue, no issue. I just want to make sure the applicant's here, and I think the event's coming up. If we have to, we want to do it tonight the way we're supposed to do it. So,
Correct.
Okay, no problem.
That was intended to introduce the item, let you know it was coming in today. It does have the 2019 amendment in it, so that's part of what's there. It's the 2016 original CUP as amended in 2019, which is the last time there were amendments to it.
Perfect. Well, I guess, Mr. Hawkins, you're up. So we typically, in this process, to give people 3 minutes, we'll give you 5.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You don't have to take all 5, but we'll give
Okay,
you 5.
noted. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you so much for having me here once again. It's an honor to be in front of you. The Pleasance Landing area and for the Rumpus and Bumpus and Pleasance Landing triathlons is one of my favorite places to swim on the East Coast. It is a beautiful section of the country. Am I close enough?
No, you're fine.
Yep,
We're
okay.
fine. I didn't see him put that up. I was looking up here.
We've been racing there off and on due to COVID and the transition from the God Bolts to the Nunamakers to Mr. Valerie. So we've been there for a lot of years, and it's been great to grow the event, to make the event more efficient and well run each year. It has ebbed and flowed in size. It used to be over 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday. It's been now it's down to 1 day, just Saturdays. The CUP notes that we're able to host it twice a year over Saturday and Sunday. We have it just on 1 day. We can have up to 750 people. We actually have that down to 575 right now because we want to make sure we have enough spare capacity for parking in case we get a rain event or we get an Easter weekend where we have a lot of spectators coming and parking along the side of the road. So we just like to make sure that we've got margin to work with the event to make sure that it still satisfies the needs of the athletes and the community and the public safety officers who are out there keeping both the athletes and the community safe. We have made donations each year to the Lake Anna Civic Association and the Louisa County Knights of Columbus. They have been integral in helping the event run. It's a great cross-jurisdictional exercise. The Spotsylvania County dive team comes over and supports the event. The Louisa County the Sheriff's Department on their jet skis support this event and the events we host at Lake Anna State Park. So it's a great way for those departments to work together. And we feed everyone after the race, and we cover their overtime as well. So we don't ask for any funds from the county for those resources. This year, we're also excited to say that we got flyers in the mail about 2 weeks ago to all the residents on the affected area on Moody Town and Eastham. We do have a short road closure on Eastham Road that should be noted, I believe, in your packets. There are no driveways on that section of road, and we have a signed detour around that area. And we have that road closure in effect to keep the intersection of Pleasance Landing Road and Eastham safe for the cyclists going through, to allow the officers directing, keeping it just flowing through and keeping car and cyclist collisions to a minimum there. We have that signed. There was some confusion as far as where that road closure extended last year. We now have signage that says road closed ahead, because again, it's just that short section of Eastham that is closed where there are no driveways on that section of road. This year, we're also excited to announce that Grand Patron is providing tacos, so triathlons and tacos at the race, which I'm very excited about. So they'll be catering the food there as well as our events at Lake Anna State Park. And we're really excited to work with those folks at all these events here at Lake Anna. It was great. I had a great conversation with Mr. McCotter about the event and getting the flyers out. So I sent that to him. He posted on the Board of Supervisors website, noting the event date and all the traffic controls that will be going on around that event, as well as on the Lake Anna Life website. So we've definitely improved the public relations plan, and we're excited to see how things go this year. And I'll open it up for questions for y'all. Sir.
It's not in my district anymore, but I did get some questions about the mail delivery that day.
Yes, sir.
So I need you to talk to the Bumpus Post Office, make sure they understand the road closures. My understanding is that the mail person maybe just didn't want to wait and they were being flagged through. I don't know. I'm not going to get to the bottom of that, but I know it messed up the mail delivery for a few citizens.
Yes, sir.
So if you could go down and talk to the postmaster down at Bumpus and have a conversation about what that looks like, and that'd be really good.
Got it. And they did get a letter. They're on the they're on the mailing list now.
Who got a letter?
The postmaster at the Bumpus station.
That's too easy.
Yeah, that.
But I'll call him and jump in.
You better call down there.
You got it.
The mail's not real reliable. They might not get their own mail.
I read about that in the news. So,
Good.
Yes,
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. O'Connor.
Mr. Hawkins is right. We did have. I'll be brief. We did have a very productive conversation. After that conversation, I'm satisfied that Mr. Hawkins has addressed resident concerns, as well as I'm very happy to note he's working with the local business for the tacos and the triathlon. Great idea. Good work. I'm also pleased that county staff has agreed to rehear this each year earlier. It's a little late in the game to be doing it now, but it is what we're doing. And, in the future, we hope that the community, Down Lake community, where the triathlon is held, remains, able to to exist with a triathlon. You just don't know. Our community is growing so quickly. So for us to be able to review it each year is good government. So thank you for the conversation.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Well, good. What is this, your 7th year?
Oh, no, we've been racing there since, I think, '07, off and on.
Oh, have you?
So, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I know it brings a lot of people to the county and generates a lot of revenue, a lot of excitement, about Lake Anna. And I know that since I've been on the board, you consistently try to improve every year. So
Every year.
kudos to you for that. So
Thank you.
thank you very much. Yes, sir.
And with moving the review process forward, since it's a lengthy review process with the community outreach meetings, we just want to back that timeline up. Since we have a race in April and another one in October, when we start the permitting process in January, it brings us into the March, April timeframe for this meeting here. And ideally, I'd like to move that back. So if there's problems at the April race, we don't need to wait till the next CUP is happening. Like, we'll implement those changes as best we can for the October race. But we still have that approval going forward because we typically open registration November 1st for the following year.
Is your October race at Pleasant Landing as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then we have 2 races at the state park, one in May and one in September.
All right. Mr. Gillespie.
I-
Thank you.
I read this, and I just want to be clear. 16 talks about we could amend or revoke the CUP. 17 talks about if we don't do anything, that you'll take care of the annual extension.
Correct.
So by virtue of the fact that nothing's coming up, you'll be issuing the annual extension unless something changes in the next few seconds.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to be clear. Thank you.
All right, unless there's any other discussion or concerns with extending the CUP, we will take no action tonight, which will allow you to do that. Thank you, sir.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yes. All right, next is litter discussion. Mr. Kuhn.
Good afternoon. So we have been working with the litter work group that consists of Supervisor Jones and Supervisor McCotter. I don't know if you guys wanted to speak on it, and then I can be ready for any questions.
Mr. Mahata, did you want to start?
Sure, I'm happy to. Rachel and I have worked with county staff to determine some potential paths forward on the existing litter problems that we have in our county. From our constituents, we're hearing a desire to address the cleanup issue as soon as possible, using all means necessary. And that does include paid cleanups. We are reviewing potential updates to the ordinances that we have to support the cleanup efforts, no matter what they are. And those efforts need to reflect our community's expectations, as we hear you. We're also exploring more precise enforcement strategies it appears that a lot of the littering is coming from identifiable sources, which we've heard tonight. So law enforcement can help with that. There's a thought to engage the community through surveys to find out from them what the strategies and how they can guide us to serve them. And
Mr. McConnor, use the mic. They can't hear you.
I was trying to do my best there. That's it. We've listened to the citizens. We're exploring all ways to address the problem. I think that we would like to probably request a citizen action group on it to help us reflect their needs as well as an objective way to address the situation.
I'd like to second that. We have been working very hard, and Mr. Kuhn, thank you for your help with this and asking, and getting our questions and the research that we needed. I do think that as I've spoken with Mr. McCotter and Chairman Adams, a citizens work group would be very beneficial here. I believe our committee is leaning towards the possibility of the county making a financial commitment to assist with our secondary roads. I believe VDOT at least in my district, is doing a fairly good job with maintaining our primary roads. And a thank you to VDOT. He's not here. I meant to thank him earlier. They were out last week throughout Zion's Crossroads cleaning up both sides, Mr. Fitzgerald's side of Zion's Crossroads and mine. Got it mowed and beautiful. But it is the secondary roads that we are having the most trouble on in our district, and especially the ones that are the cut-throughs to the primaries.
Do you want to go on, or do you want me to?
They addressed everything, and then we also have the volunteerism. So encourage anybody that would like to volunteer to reach out to Louisa Clean.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Barnes.
First of all, I want to thank Supervisor Jones and Supervisor McCarter for volunteering to serve in committee, and the people that stepped out on faith and kind of starting some action. But I'm an old country boy, and I just can't get it around my head. Why can't, because let's face it, citizens really want to see a difference, but a lot of them are in positions where they work 6 days a week, 5 days a week, and like I said, on the weekend it is kind of tough to clean up trash and do some of those things, which a lot of people are doing. But I can't wrap around my head why we can't, we talked to the judge about community service. When you get people come in for misdemeanors and stuff like that, start assigning them road cleanup, community service, because I think that's an effective way to get some of this stuff done. Like I said, I don't know, the laws done changed, and you can't assign somebody community service, but we got a lot of misdemeanor people, things of that nature. They ought to be allowed to do some community service.
That is something, Mr. Barnes, that the sheriff, in fact, is supporting and looking into a possible program. But I think behind that, as we work through those issues and some of those programs, because I agree with you, they do volunteer at the Resource Council, they do community service there. I know that for a fact, that this is something that possibly we could go down. But the committee does feel that we also need to work on other means.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Barnes, I don't feel this way, but I'm going to say these words anyway, and it probably get me in trouble, but
Oh, no.
you know as well as I do that it's demeaning to pick up trash on the side of the road, and if the judge can't give me something that's demeaning now, come on now. I got to be at the Resource Council. Come on. No, that's not dig. That's just the way the world feels.
That's true.
That's and it's physical work, and I have to work hard, and so until we change the way we start looking at things in our perspective a little bit, I wouldn't expect the judge to start assigning community service and picking up trash. We should certainly ask him, though. I'm in favor of the idea. Don't misunderstand me.
Do you have anything?
No, I'm fine.
So let me do a couple of things here.
You're right.
Yeah.
One, to your point and to Mr. Williams's point, I had a meeting last week with the sheriff. There is a state program that requires nonviolent offenders that can be assigned community service to do litter pickup from an approved list of roads. That they come under the supervision of the sheriff's department. Sheriff Lowe was eager to engage in that program if the county would want to get involved. So here's what I would like to do moving forward. Mr. Kuhn, Mr. Goodwin, is have each supervisor appoint one citizen rep to serve on this committee with Supervisor Jones and Supervisor McCotter. I'd like to have you have that appointment into Mr. Goodwin by next Monday so that this committee can get to work. I'd like to task a comprehensive recommendation to the board at the May 20th meeting. And I think it should include some of these things which have been mentioned, working with the courts and a Commonwealth attorney to see about community service in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department on litter cleanup, also with VDOT to identify safe roads. We've had a discussion about that. They do have a list of roads that are considered safe. Kentucky Springs Route 208, I'm not sure fall under that category when I have them zip by me at 60 miles an hour. To work with law enforcement and our county ordinance, along with our county attorney, to see if there's any updates or changes that need to be implemented with our county ordinances as far as covered loads, litter out of the back of the trucks and trash and that sort of thing. Make sure that all the people that are picking up trash on a commercial basis in the county are licensed. Maybe that's something we need to look at, is licensing those folks the same way we do contractors. Look at a timeline for implementation of actually having on-the-ground litter cleanup with a start date of July 2024. Also, look at recommending options on a budget if the county wants to get involved. What type of budget, how we address the secondary roads in the county. I know that VDOT can provide us with traffic counts on secondary roads. It would seem to make sense that the higher the traffic count, the higher the litter, because of more people going up and down the road, so that committee can give us a comprehensive look and come back with a package that this board can consider for implementation so that we can tackle this problem head on. And my suggestion would be, my hope would be, that this program is not a one-and-done program, but this would be an ongoing program throughout the county over multiple years, as somebody said it earlier, it might have been this gentleman, that we have to try to change attitudes and change people's behavior. And that's probably starting out, and I give a lot of credit to Louisa Clean, I give a lot of credit to the school systems, to all the people who volunteer as we try to change the dynamic of people in this county. And I'd also like to thank you, Mr. Kuhn and Mr. Goodwin, who've been very involved in getting it to this point. I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Department for being willing to step up. Again, I would encourage the Commonwealth Attorney and the court system to become active, because we do have the Sheriff's Department that's willing to enforce that program. So unless there's any objection to what we just discussed, all right, I know you have a comment, but unless there's any objection to what we just discussed, that'll be our game plan going forward. Mr. Barlow?
I applaud the game plan, and I think it's great, but we've been talking about this for years. And my question, I just scanned through this. I think our last meeting, we had a deficit of 300 and some thousand.
I'm going to go over it all.
I realize that, but it's pertinent to this question. So, and we're looking at CSA, which is the way I read this, another 112,000. So we are 430 to 50,000 deficit now. And our Clean Community Group has been doing a great job. At one point, we had the citizens of the Orange Regional Jail come out and help us, which we find
Citizens.
We haven't been able to do that anymore.
The occupants, not the citizens.
Politically correct. The point is, right now, we struggle to try and balance this budget or to try and keep it in hand, and we have constant requests for great programs to fund. We also have a constant request to keep taxes low. So you got people awfully concerned on both sides of that fence. And that gets to the point of why we haven't created another government program where our taxpayers are going to start paying for litter cleanup and that kind of stuff. We've been relying on people to clean up in front of their own houses, which I do, and I think most everybody up here does. You do that cleanup, you take a personal responsibility, and these people who are volunteering their time are doing a great job. But when you get another request to throw more taxpayer money at another government program to clean up, then you can't have it both ways. You can't have low taxes and keep making funding requests. So when these things come forward, it would be helpful to have some kind of idea how we're going to pay for it. And that gets into this, in the discussion of litter, nobody wants it. We all want it to have pristine highways and everything look great. But the reality is, most of that, now you can't use inmates to clean up the roads. It's demeaning, as Mr. He says down there. But the point is, we have a budget that we're trying to balance and try to keep down. And you have to think about that when you're requesting more and more funding. So my idea is, I think that's a great idea. We fund that, but what are we going to cut to replace it? And I got some ideas of things that could be cut, but we've kind of come to a decision what we're going to do. And I think it's time you decide whether you want clean roads or other things that are being requested. So it's kind of a dilemma that you can't have it both ways, and that is a fact.
Well, we'll add one more responsibility to the committee, and that would be funding options. And I know we've talked to, if the county decides to get involved in a financial way, funding options, we've talked about several of those. I don't think anything's off the table, including dipping into the fund balance. We'll bring us back options. That's what we want to do. So
Exactly.
all right. Anybody have any other additional comments? So, Mr. Goodwin, can you send out a reminder tomorrow to the board to appoint that citizen group?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. I will say, and sir, I apologize, I forget your name, but I know these folks over here. You said earlier, board probably didn't want to hear X, Y, and Z on litter. We hear it on litter. We understand it on litter. We know what the county looks like, and we know that it's a huge, huge problem. So there's been a tremendous amount of work going on behind the scenes to get us to this point. And if you heard what we talked about here, is the timeline is really, really tight. Bring us back a comprehensive plan by the May 20th meeting, and let's put an implementation target date of July 2024 so that we can start making a real impact on the litter issue in this county. And to Mr. Barlow's point, it probably won't be inexpensive. So, we'll have to look at how we travel down that road. But we've got a good group of people here to work on it. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I want
yes,
to thank you for the seriousness in which you've addressed this matter. Good standard setting.
Yes, indeed. All right. Next up is where are we at?
Resolution.
New business. Resolution to approve or deny the renewal of the Beaver Dam Creek Agriculture and Forestal District. Mr. Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have information in your packet, pages 43 through
58.
58, thank you, Supervisor Williams, through 58. And this includes a report as well as resolution for your consideration. I will note in the report a couple items. First, Beaver Dam Creek Agricultural and Forestal District was established in 2004. It was last for a 10-year period. It was last renewed in 2014 for a 10-year period. Comes up for renewal. It expires April 18th, 2024. It includes 10 parcels. It totals about 443 acres. There were 2 previous hearings on this and recommendations made, one before the Agricultural and Forestal Rural Preservation Committee and one before the Planning Commission. Both recommend to the board that the district be renewed for 10 years. Although there are no responses from people in this district, I will note that there are a couple of property owners that own the majority of the district. And actually, one of them has come to us, unfortunately, after the process started and asked for some consideration to add property that they own potentially to an expansion of the district. So there were no responses to be removed or change anything in the district. Recommendation before you is for approval.
Mr. Williams.
I serve on AFD. This came through, and I move we approve it.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. We approve the resolution. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution authorizing a supplemental appropriation to Children's Services Act. Mrs. Colvin.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. This is a request for a budget supplement for the Children's Services Act program. Their original budget was 4.2 million, but the expenses are exceeding that. We're estimating that we'll need another 255,000 for the end of the year with the county's local portion. The state will meet a match on it, but our portion would be 112,200.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Williams.
I happen to serve as chairman of CPMT, and we have, this is a fine example of the budget over the past 6 or 7 years, where this number used to be down around $2 million. It's doubled in that time period. You can draw a couple correlations to that. Number one is the COVID has really increased and caused some bigger troubles. I don't want to blame everything on COVID. The other thing is our increasing population of over 40,000 now has made a substantial impact. This is foster care. This is special ed. This is toting kids to residential. It's just everywhere, and we seem to be attracting these people. I sit in these meetings and they go something like this. Well, such and such just got here from Henrico, and I'm like, really? Yeah. And but they're our responsibility when they get here. We don't have a choice in the matter. And you want to talk about budgets increasing and taxes increasing? This one's doubled probably in 5 or 6 years. I move we approve the.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion?
And
Use the mic.
following right along with what Mr. Williams said, I don't believe I've ever seen a budget that this CSA didn't increase. It has been
Keep going.
over budget every year. So when you plan for it in the future, I think you think what you come up with it's going to cost and add 50%, and you might have a budget that covers it, maybe.
Well,
but anyway,
we need to raise the budget for this coming year, sir. If
There's
you want
your,
to do that.
there's your funding. There's your
every
funding
year.
formula for next year.
I add about 200,000 each year to the year before, and we still run short every year.
and it's constant. It's every time. And like you say,
and we
there's
don't just
nothing new
rubber
about
stamp
it.
these things in
I
the
know.
CPMT meeting. We look at them, we question it, we sometimes say no to stuff, and I don't think CPMT's always done that for years. I think that we've got a really good group now that we've empowered, that it's okay to question and ask the question why, and why are we doing that, and does that make sense? And we push back occasionally, and it's not popular when we do it, but we do.
Any other comments? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Colvin. Next up is committee reports.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Williams.
Ms. Jones and I serve on the TOD committee, Technical Overlay District, and we were charged with looking at what we're suggesting to do. We would like to suggest that we schedule a public hearing, and the public hearing would be removing all the TODs that we have in the county, save the one at the Cook Rail Park, leaving that one intact. We feel like we've been fishing. We've caught an ample supply of fish, and it's now time to release some of the nets, sir. And we'd like to schedule that for a public hearing for the Planning Commission and the board.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Have a
Well, you don't
second?
have to vote on it. It's just a suggestion,
Suggestion?
recommendation.
No.
We're going to refer that one back to staff, right?
If we want to refer it to Planning Commission, we'll take a motion to do it.
Also, I move that.
I'll second.
Okay. So if I understand, then you want to send your recommendation on the removal of all the TODs except the
Hold on one
Cook Rail property.
And
And
include
then that would be a CUP.
AWS.
And make the one at the rail property be by conditional use permit, yes, sir.
And we need to include AWS.
Or the ones that are already in, okay.
Yeah, the two that are already in, yes.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Barnes.
I met on the solar committee with you. You and I both represented on the solar committee. I'd like to recommend to the board that we send to the Planning Commission going from 3% to 2% in total acreage allowed in Louisa County.
A motion?
That's a motion.
So, second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Are there any other committee reports?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McCotter.
I would like to give you an brief informational report on the lack Lake Ann Advisory Committee meeting that was held on March 28th. Representatives of this county, as well as the 3 counties that consist of Black, met to review the 2 offers that we received from an RFP process. And we negotiated with those offers, and we actually have two paths forward to mitigate algae. This is about mitigation of algae on Lake Anna. It's about using the $1 million of funds that were provided by the General Assembly for this year, and the 2 offers are going to they're going to treat 2 different arms of the lake, the north end of the Pamunkey side, or excuse me, the north end of the Terry's Run side. It's more of a bake-off type of approach to see which company can serve the taxpayers best. We have Louisa Procurement handling those contracts. Hopefully they will be ratified tomorrow. That is the end of my report on the Lake Ann Advisory Committee.
Any questions for Mr. McCotter? Any other committee report?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Woodward.
I'd like to bring everybody up to date on the Commission on Aging. We had our monthly meeting last Wednesday, and we're still short a number of members, and would certainly urge everybody to please make your appointments and double check to make sure whether you have an appointment or not. It's two people from each district is what's on there. So that's it's really important. It's kind of a restructuring going on, getting ready to redo the bylaws. I think folks are really anxious to move forward and to really get moving. It can be a tremendous help and has been a tremendous help. I'll read on here what it says. This is in this section that gives us our appointments. Commission on Aging promotes quality of life for all elderly persons and ensures their needs are included in county planning and development. And it's very important that we have that. We've got an aging population just like every other place. It's important for us to have a strong, active commission. So on the other part with that, also Commission on Aging, I just wanted to let everybody know that the Commission on Aging is going to have a table at the Chamber of Commerce Central Virginia Health and Wellness Expo that will be held, this has become an annual thing, be held at the Betty Queen Center May 11th from 10 to 1, not just an hour. It'll be 10 to 1. And also JABA asked, because they have representatives that are on Commission on Aging, obviously, they're having an open house from 10 to 1 that same day. They're right there in the Betty Queen Center as well. So I think they intend on sending each board member an invitation, but they asked that I extend the invitation tonight.
We have the invitations.
Pardon me?
We got them.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't opened up all my stuff that was laying here,
Yeah.
so.
I actually sit on the JABA board.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're extending an invitation as well, right?
Well, I guess so.
Okay. All right. Well, thank y'all. It is a very important commission. So I would appreciate if you find somebody that can serve on there to please make that appointment.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Woodward. Any other committee reports? All right, seeing none, we'll go to board
Yeah,
appointments.
something about JABA.
Do we have
Mr.
board
Chair?
appointments tonight? I don't think we do.
Well, I might have one. Ms. Howells want to stay on the Commission on Aging?
She's on the Commission on Aging.
She want to stay on it?
That I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna move to reappoint Ms. Barbara Hollins to the Commission on Aging.
Awesome.
And she expired 3/31. I missed it.
Is there a second?
Well, there's 2 more if, you
Well,
got
go
yours?
ahead if you got more.
No, you got it open?
Yeah, I got, now I found out I got 2 open, but
Okay, well,
I don't have anybody to fill it yet.
Are
okay.
you the representative of the Commission of Aging? Okay, because I'm the JABA one.
I think I'm
All
pretty
right,
good.
do I have a second to Mr. Williams' motion?
Get somebody.
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman?
Appointment passes unanimously. Yes, sir.
I also have someone who appears to have be expiring. Yeah, Mrs. Worthouse. Would she continue to?
She's very active.
I was going to say, she's one of the more active people on the commission.
I would like a motion I would like to make a motion to reappoint her as well.
It's been properly moved and second for that reappointment. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Any other board appointments?
Mr. Woodward, I'm sorry, I didn't realize she had expired. So
Supervisor
Only-
Williams, you certainly don't need to apologize to me.
only by 9 days, though.
Mr. Goodwin, County Administrator's Report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Most of the information I'd cover is elsewhere in the agenda, but I do want to make sure that your attention is drawn to a broad run progress report that's on page 77 of my report. That's a bigger report than just in Louisa, and I know that you're hearing the updates in Louisa, but it's very interesting to hear how the multi-county effort that Firefly and CVEC are undertaking are progressing, and pretty neat to see that they've done the design now for almost 66%, and make-ready construction is done for the better part of 60%, so it's proceeding in areas far beyond Louisa. A few dates to make sure that you check out in that report. That the date listing is on page 65. Obviously, Louisa Clean, we talked extensively about that this evening. There's an FFA bingo event for those of you who support FFA on the 24th of April. And please make sure to remind your constituents of Household Hazardous Waste Day, which will be on April the 27th. Concludes my prepared remarks, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Goodwin? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, you can't do everything for everybody, but I did have a couple constituents, some other people brought up on Hazardous Waste Day, and we certainly want to be cost conscious, but is there a way that we could have a shredder on site? A lot of people got a lot of documents they would like to shred.
Okay.
And if we were looking at having a shredder on site somewhere where they could bring documents and shred them.
Okay. We can get a quote for your consideration as a board. That may not be able to happen by the next meeting.
Right.
But I'll try to get that research for you.
Okay.
You finished? Look like you were going to say something.
Yes, sir. No,
Okay.
I'm done.
All right, any other comments? All right, we'll move on to public hearings. Our first public hearing this evening is on fiscal year 25 budget. Ms. Colvin.
Chairman and members of the board, tonight I'd like to show you for our public hearing just a rough of where we're at with the budget at this point. We continue to make changes as we get better revenue estimates and better expenditure projections that we get in. So as you look at this, just keep in mind that state budgets are not final. We've added lots of things that we anticipate, but if they don't happen, we may have to lower down or make changes that we'll continue to do through the budget process. So with that, just as a summary, the budget as it stands right now is at $237.3 million. Of that, $81.1 million is capital projects for 25. The operating expenses have increased $9.2 million, or 6.24%. Revenue estimates are increased $6.6 million, or 3.99% higher than 24. There's no tax rate increases proposed. It does leave us an operating surplus of $15.9 million, and of that, it will go towards the capital project submissions that have been requested if approved. So with this budget, we will also use $3.1 million of Louisa County Public School CIP reserves, and there is a debt issuance for the school capital projects of $62.1 million.
Ms. Colvin, before you leave that
Yes,
page,
absolutely.
I just want to point out, and I think my math is really close on this, of the capital projects total of $81.1 million, $62 million of that goes to the schools.
Yes.
The vast majority of that goes to
Absolutely.
the schools. Middle school addition, CTE center, and the engineering for the both of the projects. I just want to point that out.
Yes, that's correct. So we have some funding to meet the needs outside of that that's been set aside. And we're using a little bit of the schools, but the county does have a fund balance remaining of 13 million at this point. Long-term capital project reserves for the county, we have 10.7 million set aside, and the school reserves are 4.8. If we use the 3.1, it will come down a little bit. So this is just a summary overview on this page. Again, revenues are not final for county or schools. So once we get more information, the General Assembly is set to come back on the 17th of April. So by our end of April, hopefully we'll have some better information. The largest increases that you'll see, of course, are from the revenue are real estate taxes and general property taxes. Also, interest payments are higher. Other local taxes are up because of the transit occupancy rate change from 2% to 7%. Just some of the
But a lot of that money has to be earmarked for
is earmarked
special
for
things.
tourism, absolutely. When you look at this, you'll see this in the pie chart, the same kind of information. 53% is general property taxes of our budget, and intergovernmental, which is state, federal dollars. So highlights, general property revenues has an increase of 11.8% or $9.7 million. The sales tax and transit occupancy are the biggest increase of our local taxes, with an increase of $2.96 million. Interest and use of money in property leases, we have an increase of $1.47 million. That adds like airport revenues that'll come in, but the expenses with the new airport stuff will also take the majority of that, but that is in that number. Revenue recovery, we have an increase in rates anticipated for the new year, so that'll add an increase of $550,000. Parks and Rec, their programming has been up, which is awesome news. So that would bring, we're anticipating an additional $500,000. Meals tax, we're up about $150,000 in that anticipated. Grant revenue's down because we did get a one-time grant last year for the Shannon Hill Business Park utilities project. So over 24, that is going to show down. Louisa County Public School revenues, 1.8 million increase, but that includes additional state revenue that we aren't positive on yet, but that is in there as an anticipation. And then debt issuance for the middle school and CTE projects, which we just discussed, is in there of 62 million. So the total revenue increase is 6.6 million with a 4% increase. Expenses, the largest expenses are for the schools. Education is our largest piece, and capital projects are the next. Normally that education number is higher, but the capital projects being so large kind of skews it a little, but most of the capital projects are for the schools as well. So when you look at that, it's mostly education, and then the next biggest is public safety, fire and EMS.
Ms. Colvin?
Yes, sir.
Just want to take a second, talk about this chart for a second. I don't want to belabor it. We got 39% going to education. We got 34% going to capital projects, of which probably 70% is for education. We have 10% for public safety, and we have 5% for social services. The rest of the slivers are small. Would you go back to your first picture? Nope.
Oh, this
Keep going.
one?
Yep, stop there.
Okay.
Our operating expenses are up 6.24% for the year. I've heard a lot about fluff and stuff like that. There's no fluff in the budget. 6.24% is growing in deputies and fire and EMS and stuff like that, and just maybe a 3 or 4% growth in just inflation. So I just want to point that out. It's a pretty tight budget. It is a big budget because of the CIP, but we're in a growing county. We have crossed 40,000 in population, and you continue to move people here and build houses, and they bring 1.3 kids or something like that, and they pay a couple $1,000s in taxes between their cars and their house, and you spend about $12,000 or $14,000 educating per child. That math don't work out real good. So it's a good thing we got AWS coming and some things like that. Now, we've done some planning, we've done some good stuff, so hang in there with us. The good news is that we have not had to have a rate increase. And I've said that several times to a bunch of people. That's not a popular thing to say out loud, but it is truthful. Be glad that we don't have to change the rate along with the assessment. And that's all.
Well, I'm going to add something.
Okay.
So we've added in this budget or proposed budget 6 new positions in fire and EMS. We've added some additional funding for career development in both the Sheriff's Department and fire and EMS, which are career ladders, to keep the people that we have here. And, you know, Mr. Williams and I serve on the Finance Committee. How many other, off the top of your head, how many other positions on the county side, new employees, new positions are we adding to the budget?
None. The only
Say that
ones-
louder for the people in the back.
Fire and
None.
EMS are the
Fire
only
and
new
EMS,
positions.
emergency services. And tonight, we recognize these folks. I'm sorry nobody was here from Sheriff's Department, or maybe they were, I didn't see them, but we asked, I mean, they were involved as well. So I think this budget makes needed investment in our emergency services. It tries to keep the people here that we already have through the compression pay, and through the career ladder so that we're rewarding. I'm just pontificating. You don't need to answer. But I do want to talk about this because I hear some of the things that people come and say. And to Mr. Williams's point that the budget grows because of the number of people who've moved here. You know, I think last year we were the 3rd fastest growing county in the state, top 5 anyway.
That's not a
fastest
badge of
growing.
honor, sir.
Yeah, that's probably not where we need to be, in my opinion. And I think that we're maybe fortunate this year that this is our 5-year state-mandated review of the comp plan, so that when we look at the comp plan in the next several months, this may be the impetus on this board to take some actions to slow the growth in this county so that we fall out of that we're not constantly adding hundreds of children to the school system every year, which continues to drive things like this. So I just say that out loud. I would certainly like to see us take a deep dive into how we can slow some of the residential growth in the county. That's me commenting. I don't need a comment from you. But I do want to point out where we're investing the taxpayers' money, and it's not in growing the size of the government. Where we're adding is fire EMS, Sheriff's Department, and we're making some investments there to keep the people that we have there.
Schools.
In the schools?
And the schools, yes, in the
Yeah.
schools, of course.
So the expenditure highlights, which I think y'all have covered most of them, so I'll go through them really quick. We did not have an increase in health insurance this year. We did add 2% for the county. The public hearing notice, I had included 3, but Finance Committee, we met and we wanted to bring that deficit down. So county side's 2%, schools are 4%.
Well, because we also gave 2% in
Absolutely,
January,
absolutely,
because
yes.
if we did not give it in January, we would lose the state match funding for that.
No, absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so we want to be clear
Yep.
with that.
Nope, I
Yeah.
will. Yep, I'm slowly getting there. There is an increase for VRS. We had a slight increase in the rate for our defined comp plan, but for our hybrid employees, there is a change in the calculation this year. So I just sat through some information on that in the last week or two. So I have increased our VRS and contingencies because I'm not sure the exact number, so I'm not going to build it into budgets till we know who needs it. But I did add 100,000 for that because that could potentially be an increase there. We've added 6 additional full-time positions for fire and EMS, plus additional compression money and part-time positions for that department. We've added career development for the Sheriff's Department as well as fire and EMS. We've had increased maintenance costs, increased software costs, increased contractual services, vehicle repair, all costs are going up.
That's like inflation, right?
Inflation, exactly. Our insurance costs are going up as well. CSA costs are increasing, as you've seen tonight. So I added an additional money for CSA of $263,000, and it's liable to be more before the end of next year. And then outside agencies have increased $21,000 with what y'all have proposed so far. So that gives us the total expenditures have increased $49 million, but total operating expenses are $9.17 million. The schools, the 4% increase, this is where I was going to say that because they didn't get the 2% in December, that we are doing 2 for us and 4 for them so that they get that part now, plus their steps, additional teachers, instructional assistants that are needed, counselor position, and then they have insurance increases as well, and some of their contracts are increasing. Capital, some of the largest items in our capital plan are the middle school upgrades, the Lake Anna wastewater treatment plant expansion that we've been looking at doing, Firefly broadband, this is the last.
Yep, it's the last one, and we've paid cash for that. We've
Yes, we
not
have.
borrowed money. We embarked on putting fiber through this county out of our pocket in cash, and we do not have debt for that.
That's correct.
And how are we paying for the wastewater treatment facility at Lake Anna?
That'll be cash as
Cash
the
as
proposed
well.
budget.
No debt.
Yes.
No debt. Cash
As long as budgets stay as
What's
they are when we
proposed?
get the final
Yeah, what's
state
proposed?
numbers, then the goal is cash. Now, if revenues come in lower, we may have to do a part of it.
But as far as what's proposed,
Proposed, it's cash, absolutely. Fire apparatus, fire trucks, rescue squads, stuff like that, 2.3 million. Parks and Rec, long-term capital reserves, we put $1 million in there for their projects that the county has been saying that we've needed. Sheriff's vehicle replacements, $646,000. The Water Authority has some needs for their sludge vac system. This is another installment, getting that where it needs to be. And then right-of-way maintenance of $550,000. Airport has now been added to us. This is only a 2% cost of what it would to do some of these projects. They get state and federal funding, so the $468,000 is only 2% of the massive amount, and that will only be done if we get the state funding for those. The business park enhancements for the transportation and roads, $348,000. Volunteer station capital projects, $300,000. And then we've been putting aside money for the ammonia nitrogen upgrade when we have to do that, of $250,000 for this year's portion, and the Bowlers Mill Dam improvements for when that time comes of $250,000.
Are we about finished paying off Bowlers Mill?
That's what I was just going to ask.
I think one more year. One more year.
You know,
They're both very close.
And to talk about why that's important, just 2 weeks ago, there was a dam partial failure in Hanover County, and the estimated repair cost is something like $15 million, and nobody has any, they can't even determine ownership of the dam. Now, I know who has ownership of this, but it goes to prudent budgeting. I think that, you know, there's been far longer than I've been on the Finance Committee, money put aside so that as upgrades are needed, we don't hit with a huge bill. I mean, I'm pointing these things out. I think most people on the board know that, but at budget time, you know, people sometimes get focused on this, or this, and not the overall budget, because this overall budget, it's a tight budget year, but this overall budget is a lean budget, in my opinion. I mean, it does not waste the taxpayers' money.
I actually pulled the
Mr.
capital. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just you were talking about Bowlers Mill, and I think people have to also remember on Bowlers Mill, the reason that we do have to invest in it is it takes out, if it were to fail and there was a breakage, we would lose Route 15, Route 22, and all of the homes within there, that it is important that we maintain this in the Green Springs district. And we can't let this fail because it would be catastrophic for the county and residents and homes in Route 15 and 22, major arteries.
Yes, ma'am.
We do have a few more years on that one. The dam, after this year, we'll have 3 more years, and the ammonia nitrogen 2. The dam, what happens with that is when the state, we'll get state money hopefully for that. So when they feel like it's time, you have to be ready to move. So this gives us that money to pay our portion for that as well. But we do have a couple more years. Fund balance, we talked about this earlier. We have 12.9 million, 13 million. Our tax rates we are one of the lowest in real estate. We're the 3rd lowest, but Orange County charges a fire and EMS tax. So when you add that in, we're the 2nd lowest, and our personal property rates are the lowest in our surrounding areas that we normally look at. Now, since the public hearing notice has been published, we have had some changes based on assumptions from the House and the Senate budgets. I have made some changes. I've increased the county side of the state revenue by $133 million for comp board revenues I look for us to possibly receive. I've reduced the debt for the principal debt on the debt we're issuing this year because that principal amount will not start till 26, only the interest, so that gives us an extra $300,000 this year. VJCCA is a grant we get for juvenile probations. They've changed how that's to be used in the future year. So to keep doing a few of the services they're doing, they did request an additional $8,000 that I've included in here for them. We fund those every year, those services. I did reduce the county and salary increases from 3% to 2% for county and DHS staff. I had increased them because of what we thought we were going to get with the state, but we're going to bring that back down because we still can meet what we need with the comp board. We didn't want to lose comp board money, so there's a few exceptions to that, maybe 20 people out of our entire employee pool.
It's like $13,000.
Yeah, it was a small amount. I want to say like 20, but that's adding that back into the budget. That reduced the amount of general fund usage that we needed when we added all those things in, so that added back $352,000. I reduced the amount of debt issuance as well because we had a little bit, that 300 extra that we had, that reduced that. But then I also added the expenses for the increased VRS fees that we're going to have.
That's about a net zero?
A net zero, yes.
Yeah.
So still the only debt issuance will be for the schools, and it'll be a little less than what we need by $169,000.
Great.
The next steps, we're still awaiting that state budget. Adoption of the operating and capital budgets is set for you guys to consider the budgets and the tax rate on April 29th, and the appropriation for you to consider on May 6th. And with that, any questions or anything I missed?
Mr. Barnum.
I realize this is proposed, so all of this is contingent, and we're waiting on the state budget
Yes.
before any of this is going to be finalized.
Absolutely, and anything that you request or the board requests me change, I can make those changes, but this is where we're at right now, based on Finance Committee and recommendations.
I almost hate to even mention this, but I've got lured into a committee.
You want to raise taxes?
No.
You want to get more money?
No.
Okay, good. We're great.
I'm good for once. We have what I consider a huge looming debt on the horizon. We may actually get this water line thing finalized.
Whoa, praise the Lord.
Now, my question is anything in this budget?
Not in 25, but it is in my projections for 26 and 27. So the slides that, do I have the projection on there?
I don't think you have the projection in this.
I may not on here. It's in the budget book that's online that I'm going to update with all the changes since the public hearing notice by the end of the week. But they are in our projections that we have.
So there's nothing in the 25 budget for it?
Not in 25, but they are in our 26, as we should start to see other revenues hopefully start to flow in.
What happens if we actually get this permit
Mhm.
in 25?
You won't, your first debt service
Yes.
payment won't be until 26.
26.
Are we debt funding that entire thing?
Yes, the JRWA is debt funding and the counties are splitting it.
Yeah, we have that in all of our projections, and we checked on the years and everything, and that's when I realized ours didn't start till 26 either. I thought ours started in 25, and I pulled everything and realized I had, yeah, so.
Well, that's certainly not pay as you go then, is it?
Anybody else? Any questions?
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Colvin. This is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the board? No, Mr. Babiak.
We're talking to Bob, not you,
Public hearing.
because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Hearing on the budget.
There's Bob Babiak, Green Springs District. I want to congratulate the board, and especially Wanda Colvin and the Finance Committee for such a terrific job on a very, very difficult, as always, budget priorities. The priorities have always been correct on, obviously, schools, sheriffs, rec, all of the items that involve the protection of the quality of life of our residents. To me, that should always be number one and always has been. I would only hope that in some time in the future that we increase Parks and Rec, which has consistently also been the last, only 1 cent on the dollar in every budget every year, to enhance the quality of life for our residents. We have all seen increases in our taxes, and which nobody obviously likes. Principal cause has been obviously in the assessments. I know our assessors do a great job and they follow by the book. My only question is, I wonder, and I know the board has no control over the assessment situation by the county assessors. However, I'm wondering if the formula that they use, and they go by the book, the formula they use, is it appropriate for this day and age? One of the questions is that older homes that are either in a basic state of repair or don't have the amenities of other properties being, again, assessed in the same value. I'm just wondering if the board has any possibility of looking at the formula that the assessors use, just to give a double check to see if we are treating our residents correctly in as far as assessments go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babiak. Is there anyone else here that wishes to address the board? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. The next public hearing we have is an ordinance to amend Chapter 70, Section 70-225 of the Louisa County Code to exempt certain property owned by Trevilian Station Battlefield Foundation from real property tax. Mr. Goodwin?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Mr. Mullen and I may take this together, so I'll give a brief introduction and then turn it over to him to see if he'd like to add anything. This information is included in your board packet starting on page 84. The list of parcels that would be added are tax map 23, lots 133 and 134, tax map 24, lot 21, and tax map 25, lots 82 and 84. These are not the first property or parcels that are exempted for the foundation, and if you move down to page 86, that shows the all-inclusive list, both what is currently exempted, lines 1 through 11, and what is proposed for additional exemption in lines 12 through 16. The supporting information and the request from the applicant are included on the following pages. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or Mr. Mullen may wish to add further detail.
Goodwin, we're just adding 5 acres to the battlefield. Is that what we're doing, sir?
Roughly speaking, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I knew the answer. I just was getting it out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions? All right, we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the board regarding this ordinance change? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we approve this change. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Barnes?
So moved.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.